family, it's your boy Hatendo back again with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a review on the iPhone XR. So before we begin the video, I just want to give you guys a video structure of how we'll be reviewing my videos in the future, especially with products and other stuff like that. So the way how I'm going to be reviewing these products is going by 8 bullet points, and those bullet points are: 1, design. Well, I'll be talking about the design of the product, how it looks, and just my opinion on the way they design and stuff like that. 2 will be the display of the product. So if the product has a display on it, so we're going to be talking about the resolution, how clear the screen is, how many pixels we're talking, and things like that. 3, performance. Performance is, talking about the CPU, the RAM, seeing how fast it works up to today or how it works back to its current standards. 4, battery. Really self-explanatory. Talking about the battery life on this thing, how long it lasts, how long it takes to charge, things like that. 5, the camera, if it has a camera. Talking about the megapixel count, how clear it takes pictures, video capabilities, what's the highest resolution it shoots, things like that. 6, the purpose of using it. The purpose of, why would you buy this product, or why would you use it today, or how would you use it. 7, the price and current value of the product. Again, really self-explanatory right there, I'm going to explain right there. And then 8, my valid opinion on if you should buy the product, if you should get it, and things like that. So other than that, guys, let's start the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It means a lot to me and your other current family members. So other than that, guys, enjoy the video. Alright guys, so let's talk about the design of the product. This is the iPhone XR. This was Apple's first budget-friendly phone of the new redesign of the iPhone. So let's first things first, let's talk about the front. The front of the display, the front of the phone mouthful is all screen design. There's no home button. As you guys noticed on the previous iteration of the iPhone, always had a home button. Thanks to the new iPhone design, there's no more home button. It is a all screen front panel. Going to the front of the top of the screen of the display, we have our Face ID array and sensors. We have our 3 Face ID sensors right here, which allows the Face ID to work accurately all the time, and most importantly, secure. We got our earpiece and stereo speaker right here, and we have a front 7 megapixel front camera. On the side of the phone, we have our iconic mute switch. This design is so convenient. Instead of going in when I had an Android before, you have to lower the volume or just go on the phone and tap the mute button. But with the iPhones, ever since the first iPhone dropped, this convenient mute switch, you just flick it down and the phone is silent, and you will know you're in mute mode when this orange tab is showing. So it's just very iconic, this design right here. We have our volume rockers. You got our up and down, made of the same aluminum on the side of the phone. We have one of our antennas right here. Get that to focus for you guys. Boom. Another antenna right here. On the other side of the phone, we have our side button / power button. Before, if you guys don't know, before the side button or power button used to be on the top for the small iPhones until the iPhone 6 came out and Apple decided to put the side button on this side of the phone instead of being on the top, because the phones are getting bigger and and it avoids us from going like this, and it's much easier to just press the side button like that. Anyways, we have our two more antennas, side antennas for connectivity, and we have our sling tray right here. On the top, it's nothing but aluminum on the top, and on the bottom we have our mics, our stereo speaker, and we have our lightning port right there. Going from the back with the product, we have our one single 12 megapixel wide camera. We have our microphone, and we have our quad LED flash, true tone flash. We have our Apple logo right in the middle, well, kind of up top centered, and on the bottom, which they don't do this anymore, we have the words iPhone on the product. Focus. The back is all glass. It's like a glossy glass finish. I kind of like this design of the glass compared to the Pro models or the higher end models of the iPhone, where it uses a matte finish, but I like the glossy finish on the budget iPhones. Same thing as before, the phone is rounded, same rounded corners and everything from since the iPhone 6 came out back in 2014, same rounded edges. Okay, so that's the design of the product of the iPhone XR. Let's move on to the next segment. Right, the display. The iPhone XR was the first iPhone to feature a 6.1-inch front panel. The iPhone XR was also the first iPhone what Apple introduces as liquid retina display, or liquid retina HD display. It is just a fancy way of Apple saying it's just a front panel LCD display. Nothing really major about it compared to the iPhone 8 Plus, which was a Retina HD display. It's the same LCD, it's just an LCD front panel. But Apple is calling the XR Liquid Retina HD display. What's the difference between the Retina HD display and Liquid? There's no difference. It's the same LCD panel. It's just the resolution, which I'll get in a minute, is a little bit more higher on the Retina HD display. So it is a 6.1-inch, like I said, LCD, all-screen LCD with multi-touch with IPS technology. You guys know what multi-touch is? It's basically the display registering more than 5 fingerprints on the screen, or touch inputs on the screen. If you guys know before when they started making touchscreen phones, it was only limited to one. It just limited to only one input at a time until they started making multi-touch displays, which is far more better than just having like that. So boom. Now the resolution is a little bummer on this phone. The resolution on this phone is 1792 by 828 with a pixel resolution of 326 ppi. That is pretty low compared to the year this phone dropped. The iPhone 8 Plus had a higher resolution than this. The iPhone 8 Plus uses a 1080p LCD panel, while this phone is just a little bit above 720p. And the price that they was dropping this phone for was really ridiculous at the time. I think Apple could have done a little bit better job with the screen. You know, don't get me wrong, it is a Retina display. You know, Apple, it's Retina display technologies. You know, Retina display makes the screen a little bit more clearer, more vibrant, but for a resolution of that, it's just a little bit above 720p. So, which means you're scrolling through Instagram, you're scrolling through Facebook, you're not scrolling and you're not looking at pictures or anything like that in its full 1080p. You're only scrolling in 720p. YouTube videos as well. You know, sure, you can change the resolution in the YouTube app, but it won't really make a difference. It's because this phone display isn't capable of viewing resolutions higher than 720p. You know, you can watch 1080p videos on this phone, but it just won't make a difference, as this phone isn't capable of viewing 1080p, 2K, 4K video. So that's kind of the bummer and shock of iPhone XR. Is the display. It really isn't that well. You know, it's Retina display. Everything does look a little bit clearer and sharp. If they didn't use Retina display on this device, the screen wouldn't really look nice. I'm not sure if you guys, let me see if I show you something. But yeah, like this, like I don't know why the Apple decided to use this type of resolution, but it has to be a reason. But they could at least made it a little bit better. You know, but the screen it's not as sharp as the OLED panels of the Pro iPhones and of the iPhone 8 Plus. So because of its low resolution and screen density, we have a 1400 by 1 contrast ratio. It's pretty low. It does support True Tone. Well, it has to support True Tone because the iPhone 8 did. You guys don't know what True Tone is. True Tone, it just adapts to the current lighting environment that you're in, and the screen adapts and mimics the same. So for example, if I go outside and it's a little cool, like if the lighting is a little bluish and stuff like that, the screen will adapt and the screen will copy the same lighting to go on the screen. Same thing if I move into a warm environment, the screen will also adapt and return to its warm colors. It's basically a way of just not to mess up your eyes and stuff like that, because too many blue lights from devices isn't really good for your health and stuff like that. So it's Apple's way of making sure the user is healthy and stuff like that. It's a wide color display, P3, supports haptic touch. Haptic touch is something new from Apple. Previous iPhones use 3D touch, which was introduced from the iPhone 6s. Unfortunately, when iPhone XR dropped, Apple removed support for its 3D touch. So 3D touch basically is when the screen is pressure sensitive, so which means the screen knows how hard that you're applying to open context sensitive items. So for example, if I open a shortcut, I will hard press the icon, instead of opening the camera. I'll just hard press the item and it will show this menu right here. But because the iPhone XR doesn't have 3D touch, it's something called haptic touch. You just hold on the item on the screen and it will show a menu and other items as well. So you're going on the lock screen again, boom, just put on the flash, boom. So like I said, it isn't really, when it first dropped, it wasn't really that fast and reliable as 3D touch, but with Apple tweaking up its iOS software, haptic touch is really the norm now up to today, even with its current iPhone 13 and upcoming 14 lineup. Haptic touch is pretty useful now. It's pretty fast. It's, Apple did some iOS tweaking on it and it's really reliable and stuff like that. Display again has a 625 nits max brightness. Yes, the screen isn't that bright on the XR. So yeah, if you go outside, you will have some problems. You will have problems seeing this phone in the light. And that's pretty much it. The display. Again, the display. It's a 6.1 inch. It's pretty typical for the user. It's not too big, not too small. It's just perfect sizing. So that's it with the display. Let's move on to the next segment. Performance. The iPhone XR features the same chip as the iPhone XS, which is the Apple's A12 Bionic, which is Apple Silicon, which is an Apple Silicon chip. The A12 Bionic is pretty fast and decent, especially when it first came out in 2018. So the Apple A12 Bionic, basically it is a 6-core, which Apple is still using 6-core today, even with the iPhone 14. It is a 6-core, which is divided into 2 performance cores and 4 power efficiency cores. And compared to its previous Apple A11 Bionic, the A12 offers a 15% improved CPU performance for its performance cores and a 50% lower power consumption for the efficiency cores, according to Apple. To be honest, when it comes to Apple making processors and stuff, Apple is really ahead of the competition. After the Apple A9 chip, Apple processor has just been beating the competition. Like, it's really fast. Especially when the iPhone 7 came out, the Apple A10 Fusion, that chip was really, really fast. So the A12 also features a new and improved GPU, which is 50% faster than the previous A11 Bionic, and has a new neural engine with 8 cores with up to 5 trillion operations per second. So before, Apple had something called an M chip in the phone, which is a motion core processor, which helps with the computational and stuff like that. Due to updated technologies and Apple Silicon and stuff like that, it is now built into the Bionic chip, and that's what neural engine is there for. So the A12 Bionic was comparing between the Snapdragon 835 during the time, and it was really faster than the Snapdragon chip. So like I said, it has 6 cores, 6 threads. Clock speed was clocked at a 2.9 or 2.5. Well, let's just call it around 2.5 gigahertz. But it is a 64-bit chip, and if you guys don't know already, you see right now it's currently clocked at 2.4, 97 megahertz right now. So you can see it is a 7-nanometer whole processor, Apple M12 GPU, boom. If you guys don't know, when you do put your phone in low power mode, this also decreases the clock speed. Let's just restart the app again, because refresh it. You can see here that when you put the phone in low power mode, the clock speed goes down to a 1.7 gigahertz instead of its current 2.5 gigahertz speeds. So the A12, it's really good for gaming. Barely any lag in the screen. This phone came in 2018. We're in 2022 right now. We're on iOS version 15.5. Not the latest, but and this phone will be running iOS 16 pretty soon. The A12 is really fast compared to other chips on the market, and it's still a great processor today. Like I said, Apple is really great at making processors for their phones, and it's always better than the competition. Gaming wise, you can game in the phone. It's really not a problem for gaming. Games still run smooth on this phone. Still run smooth on this phone. Barely any lag, any slowdowns. Sure, if you pull up a iPhone 12 or 14, aside from this and you're launching apps, sure the new iPhone launch it faster than this one. But other than that, it's really any lag and stuff like that. So has 3 gigs of RAM, which is good for multitasking compared to what happens nowadays, which is 6 gigs of RAM. But this iPhone XR has only 3 gigs of RAM. So that's it for performance. Next to the next segment. The battery. The iPhone XR features an all-day battery life. Inside the battery, the iPhone XR uses a 2942 milliamp battery, which is pretty big for the phone. Pretty much nothing really bad about battery life. Battery life on this phone is pretty amazing. It lasts. So talk time, you can talk up to 25 hours of battery life. You can use the internet, web browse up to 15 hours. Video playback up to 16 hours of video playback. It's, fast charge. After, I think when Apple released the iPhone 8, those phones featured wireless charging and fast charging, which allows you to use a 15-watt USB-C adapter, which charges the iPhone for 50% capacity in just 30 minutes, which is pretty great to use and stuff like that. So if you're on the go and your phone died, or you just need a quick boost, you can use the fast charge to charge up your iPhone pretty quickly. So for a phone I released in 2018, the battery health, maximum capacity right now is on 84%. And with that percentage, the battery still runs great. I usually record and stuff with this phone, and the battery is still pretty great on this phone. I'm not gonna lie, I barely, probably every now and then I will charge it. Probably when I record a video, I just put the phone aside, and then when I make another video, the battery usually be around 70 or 60%, and then I charge it. And that's just after a couple of days, So the battery life is really good on this phone. No complaints. And because of the screen resolution as well, that's another factor of why the battery life is also great. Since the resolution of the screen isn't that great, the processor isn't using too much power to power on this LCD display compared to a 1080p panel or even a higher OLED 2K panel. So that's pretty much for battery life with this phone. Let's move on to the next segment. Camera. The iPhone XR features a 12 megapixel single wide camera and a front-facing 7 megapixel true depth camera. With these two cameras, you can record up to 4K 60 with the back, and I believe 1080p video 6 FPS with the front. The iPhone XR takes some stunning pictures. Fortunately, iPhone XR does have portrait mode, but unfortunately, due to not having a dedicated telephoto lens, the telephoto camera is only, the portrait mode is only for people. You cannot use it for objects or other things like that, compared to newer iPhones or iPhones with a telephoto lens. So that's a bummer. Front-facing camera, the iPhone XR is a 7 megapixel front camera, and it takes decent, good selfie pictures. And decent lighting. Video. Like I said, the iPhone XR can shoot in 4K up to 60 FPS. I like to use the 4K 30 FPS option, which is a nice sweet spot, as with 30 FPS. It does capture enough light, which makes the video clear and stable, especially in low lighting situations. Front camera, like I said, okay, it does shoot 720p or 1080p, 30 or 60 FPS. Again, I like to use the 30 FPS mode as it captures enough lighting in current situations. When you head outside, the camera does look amazing due to its lighting. The camera lens is capturing a lot of light, so the cameras outside, especially when you're recording, does look amazing. Supports stereo sound, which means whatever sound is coming from the left, it will record on the left. Whatever sound is recorded on the right, it will record on the right. And it does support HDR, which is usually something which came out with the iPhone 4S. So other than that, guys, pretty much good. 12 megapixel camera, nothing too major on that. Let's move on to the next segment of the video. So, what's the purpose of buying and using the iPhone XR? Well, buying an iPhone XR in 2022 could be used for a lot of things. For one, you can use it as a backup in case your main phone, gets lost, stolen, cracked, or messed up. You can always revert back to a backup phone. Another thing you can use this phone for, video recording. Like I said, it features a 12 megapixel camera and it records 4K video up to 60 FPS. And the camera is great. It is a great camera for my 2018 phone. Usually Apple nails the camera department of its iPhones. And even I still use this phone to record my videos. It's great to have a backup. Another purpose you can use this phone for is, you want to save money. Let's say you want to have a newer iPhone, but don't want to break the bank. Go for an iPhone XR. These phones they're really cheap, especially on third-party marketplaces. I don't recommend getting them from a carrier because the carriers will overprice you for this iPhone. Check out eBay. Usually eBay has sellers that sell this iPhone for a really low price. And if you really don't want to break the bank, you can head on to swapper.com, and usually they sell these phones, depending on the condition of the phones, for a really great price, especially when they have great sales and stuff, coupons, things like that. I did use Swapper in the past, and I bought a fair iPhone 8 Plus, and that thing didn't really have any scratches or anything on it. So, head on to swapper.com, and, you can buy your phones from there. It's really cheap. You can even get the newest iPhones for a fraction of the cost of what you'll buy them for. So, another way you can use this phone is if you want to use it as a security camera or baby monitor. There are apps for that. You can download the app. You can use that for it as well. Or let's say you want to turn this iPhone into an iPod. You can put all your music, Apple Music, or you can usually download music from a Mac. You can put on this iPhone. You can use it as a dedicated iPod or a music player. Or let's say you have kids. You have kids around, and keep them distracted a bit. You can just give them this phone. You can download YouTube TV or YouTube Kids, and give them the phone. They can play around with it. There's Apple Arcade. This phone is great. Like I said, processor is great. Gaming wise, is great on this phone. And that's pretty much, this phone is pretty great for all that stuff. If there's any more purposes of you use this iPhone, you can drop some in the comments and let your other users know what else they offer with this. So, Let's move on to the next segment. Price and its current value. When the iPhone XR dropped, the iPhone XR was a whopping $750, which was pretty steep for a phone that didn't have 1080p. It was using just a little bit above 720p. This phone did receive some bad reviews as it's being too much for the screen resolution. It was too much money for it, but at the end of the day, the iPhone XR did sell, and it was a commercial success, being the cheapest iPhone during the time, with great capabilities, all screen design, Face ID, A12 Bionic camera. This phone was a commercial success. Nowadays, as I talked about in the previous segment, you can get this iPhone for a pretty much cheap price if you go on third-party marketplaces and stuff like that. Again, I don't recommend buying it from carriers, as they will charge you commission for it, because at the end of the day, carriers, they want to make money, so they'll try and sell you the phone for like what, $499, $399. You don't want to pay that money. It's good to head onto a third-party marketplace. You can get on eBay, Swapper, Giselle, things like that. Giselle is a good one. I actually got this phone from Giselle themselves. I got this in a fair condition. As you saw in the video, this phone is flawless. There's no scratch or anything like that. And I only paid $175 for this phone, so you guys can beat that. $175. So you guys definitely head on to Swapper. I will put the URL on the screen for you guys. Head on to swapper.com. Not Swapper, Giselle.com. They have a lineup of iPhones, Macs, iPads, even Android phones. Head on to that. Price-wise, you will save money in the bank by going with Giselle or any other third-party marketplaces. Just don't buy it from, other carriers. Let's move on to the final segment and let's close this video down. The iPhone XR, in my valid opinion, is a really phenomenal phone for the piece of price it came at. Sure, when it first launched, it was a little hefty in the price, as it is barely above 720p for a phone in 2019, 2020, and Apple was still charging that much for a phone. It was really ridiculous at the time, but nowadays, especially in 2022, this phone is relatively cheap. This phone really didn't value on this phone really dropped. Like I said, this phone is really cheap. You can probably get it on Swapper, Giselle for $175. I actually paid for this from Giselle for $175. I will put the link in the description or on the screen for you guys to check it out. Again, it takes really nice pictures, as it is 12 megapixel rear camera. It does shoot in 4K 30 and 4K 60, which I recommend doing in 4K 30. Takes great pictures and selfies, especially when you're outdoors. You cannot really go wrong with the XR, and it's even getting support for iOS 16. It's really a great phone. So I suggest you guys pick it up if you guys want to have it for a backup, or use it as a personal camera, or just a photo taker. It's really worth it, worth the buck. Alrighty, guys. So the iPhone XR is a pretty decent iPhone. If you want to buy it in 2022, go right ahead and buy it, man. Spend your money, save your money, especially during times like this. Just go for it. I think this is a phenomenal phone. The only downfall to me is just the screen. The screen is, can't use a phone screen like this. But it doesn't really bother me like that. So other than that, guys, thank you for watching this morning's video. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button and join the other family members of the channel. Other than that, guys, Thanks again for watching this morning's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now, guys.